Good day, everyone. This is going to be our lecture regarding ordering principles. So this lecture is for level 1 or first year students, and it is for the course Theory of Architecture 2. So today we will be discussing the ordering principles. The reference for this lecture is from Francis D.K. Ching's Form, Space, and Order, and there will be some examples to be given. So first, what are the ordering principles? Una, it helps us understand the following. So remember, in Theory of Architecture, we are supposed to be able to explain and rationalize why a certain building is designed a certain way. So, the purpose of ordering principles is first to help us understand the following. So, una, uh, it helps us understand the relationship between the elements. Second, spatial clarity and movement, and then visual hierarchy and coherence. So, let's explain this a bit. So, una, relationship between elements. How are the elements related to each other? So, our previous lecture is about ratio and proportion. Now, to establish order, we need to define what the ordering principles are. How is order defined? So, we know that the building is in a proper order or according to order, designed according to order, if we know the relationship between the elements. Are they related? Second, spatial clarity and movement. So, una muna, spatial clarity. Spatial clarity, looking at it visually, um, does the viewer understand or comprehend its purpose or meaning? Is it clear what it stands for or what the purpose is? Pagdating naman sa movement, of course, our buildings are stationary. They're not supposed to have major movements. It's supposed to be stable. Movement here refers to visual movement. Does it have rhythm? Does it lead the senses, especially your sight, to where you're supposed to go next? Nasa tamang order ba or arrangement? So looking at it visually, aside from the signs or aside from any labels, do you know where to go? Is it directing you where you should be moving? So dapat clear yon, and it should, the viewer or the user of the space has to know saan ba siya papunta and what is the end, or it should mirror the processes within the building. Next, visual hierarchy and coherence. So of course, it is orderly when there is hierarchy. Is there a specific element that is emphasized? How is it emphasized? Is it of a different shape? Mas malaki ba yung size niya? Does it have a different texture from all the other elements of the building? So there should be visual cues on which is higher upon the hierarchy, which are of lower importance, and so on. And coherence. Pag pinagsama-sama ba yung mga elements, are they coherent? Do they blend well with each other? Walang na-alienate na ibang space na that seems off from the whole visual composition of the space, and so on. So we'll be discussing that further in detail. So ano-ano yung mga ordering principles? This is not the total list. There are still other ordering principles, but these are the 6 basic ordering principles according to Francis D.K. Ching. So we have the axis, symmetry, hierarchy, rhythm, datum, and transformation. So there are buildings or complexes that two or more ordering principles are being used and combined with each other. Meron lang siguro isa or dalawa na prominent na ordering principle. Okay? So again, ordering principle, it shows kung ano ba yung proper order, helps us understand hierarchy, which part of the spaces or which part or spaces in the building are of utmost importance or higher in the hierarchy, ano yung pagkakasunod-sunod, tama ba yung arrangement, does the arrangement make sense? Okay, so first, axis. An axis is for an imaginary line. So of course, it's not an obvious line. It establishes direction. It often implies movement, precession, or focus. Okay, so may alignment lang siya. Not necessarily alignment, pero it's supposed to establish an order or implies movement or focus. May kita mo, it could either be the center or not the center. Okay, so hindi ibig sabihin na axis kailangan nasa pinakagitna. Okay, although most of the time it's a center line and then two sides are mirrored. Okay, so it could either be linear or radial. We will see later in the examples. It is associated also with entrances and focal points. So, most of the time, yung entrance natin and yung mga focal points, the important points in that building is along the given axis. One example, this is the Palace of Versailles in France. So, meron tayong central axis, okay? Pag napansin niyo yung both sides hindi naman pareho. It's not a mirror image of one another. But the center axis here establishes a straight line, okay? Movement. So more likely, the user is starting from down here. We assume is the one of the entrances, and then pag dinire-diretso mo yan, makakalabas ka doon sa outdoor spaces at the back of this image. Okay? So it's a really very prominent axis along the center. Wherein the elements from this side on the left and the right side are balanced upon. So it does not have to be symmetrical, but it implies balance on the two sides of this complex. Okay, so again, it does not have to be symmetrical, but it should be balanced enough. So that is your axis. From this entry point here, going there, makikita din natin yung example ng approach, yung entrance, okay, and so on. Goes both sides, so accessible siya from both sides. Okay, we can also establish an axis across here. Okay, pero mas prominent ito from this view. Now, let's go to our next example. This one is the Karnak Temple Complex in Egypt. So, we've established an axis from here to here. In this example, hindi sila balanse yung dalawang side. But, the established axis, nandoon yung mga entrances natin from the outer wall, going to the Great Hypostyle Hall, and then from the pylon, fourth pylon. Okay, so tuloy-tuloy ang tagusan yan, kumbaga. Okay, so yan yung pinaka-reference line nitong dalawang structures na to. Okay, and on the other hand, hindi naman kailangan balanse yung dalawang side. Pero may axis pa rin. Okay, despite it being imbalanced. Okay, another example, this is the Quezon City Circle. So here in the QC Circle, we've observed several axes. Okay, so looking at this oval here, which is where the Quezon Memorial Circle is, makita natin na radial siya, nagre-radiate from the center. Okay? We can also assume itong pinaka-center nitong diamond here, nagre-radiate itong axis niya across. Okay? And then, from here, makikita natin there are other axes. May mga axis tayo dito, okay? So, nag-intersect sila with one another, which divides this particular area into 4 quadrants. Okay? So, meron tayong timog, meron tayong north, okay? And then sa QC circle, you also divided it on several areas as well. Okay, so in this case, yung mga major avenues natin served as the axis. Okay, so these are commonly used to anchor or to establish yung mga urban plans natin. So those are just some of the examples. Marami pa kayong makikita. Next, symmetry. Nabanggit ko to kanina. Okay, ang symmetry is balanced distribution of elements. Okay? So, more likely mirrored or pare-pareho ang pagkakahati. Equal distribution. So, first is bilateral symmetry. Meron kang axis, for example, or a center line. And then, pag tiniklop mo yon, left side and right side are the same, mirrored along the axis. And then, the radial symmetry, meron lang center point, hinati for how many angles or sides, and then para lang siyang pizza na hinati. Okay, it could be many divided into more parts. Okay, so when you do this, you have established order, stability, and formality. So it's really important na itong mga ito ay pare-pareho or mirrored. Let's see this example. Most common example that we have is the Taj Mahal in India. Okay? What's on the left is mirrored onto the right. Okay? So, it's very common. Mirror image lang yung left and right side. So, that is symmetry. Pag walang mirror image, it's asymmetrical. But again, balance can still be achieved. May symmetry ka man or wala. Now, this one is the plan of Pantheon in Rome. So, this is what you call a radial symmetry. You have a major axis here, vertical dito sa ating image, and then divided into 8 equal parts. So, more likely, kapag hinati mo ito at dinistribute, they are the same image, part of the pie. Alright, so yan, pantay-pantay lang yan at pare-pareho. Next, hierarchy. Hierarchy is express degree of importance. Paano mo masasabi that a specific area in your building is the most important? Pwedeng siya yung pinakamalaki, kakaiba yung shape niya. It's a circle amongst rectangles, for example, or the shape is regular, siya lang naiiba ng shape sa ibang mga elements ng building or areas or rooms, or kakaiba yung kanyang placement, pwedeng nakagitna siya, pwedeng nasa pinakaunahan, very prominent ang placement niya, at the front, or at the side, and then ganun din, malaki yung size, larger than the others. It could be a combination of these descriptions. Ibang orientation niya, siya lang yung nakaharap, all the others nakatalikod, ganon. So, it could be anything or a combination of these 4. Okay, so I have this example here. This is Iloilo Convention Center. What you can see here is kakaiba yung kanyang material. So, again, pwedeng iba din ang texture niya or naka-emphasize siya through articulation of the surface or the shape or the corner or iba yung kanyang size. So, this area here, yung naka-emphasize dito sa ating image, is of a different shape, different, mapapansin mo na agad, yan yung gitna, yan yung in-emphasize niya. Okay? So, it takes preeminence over the sides here, which are otherwise iba yung material. Okay? Hindi ganun ka-dynamic yung shape. So, pwede mo iba-ibahin yung shape. Mas malaki siya in size. Okay, assuming na ito yung pinaka-prominent na part of the area. Alam mo na agad yan yung facade. Okay? Next, rhythm. Rhythm naman, repetition of elements, pwedeng may variation, pwedeng wala over a space and time. Pero again, rhythm is dun sa variation. Kasi when we say rhythm, it's about movement. It's about rhythm in music or dance. Pero in architecture, because our buildings do not move, the elements would express movement or rhythm or dynamics. Okay? So it expresses movement and tempo, pero visual. It could be repetitive, nag-alternate, or progressive, pataas, pababa, okay, pakurba. So, one of our examples here is Mactan Cebu International Airport. So, when you introduce dynamic shapes, yan, so automatically it gives rhythm, okay? So you have arches here and then nag-curve siya to connect all these arches. So para siyang nagmo-move. Although it's not advisable, of course, for you to move over the roof or scale the roof, whatever. Pero pagdating sa baba, when you look at it visually, parang gumagalaw. That's the image that we are seeing here. Okay? Datum. Ang datum naman, it's a bit similar to the axis. It's a reference line. Pero aside from a line, you can use a plane or a volume. It organizes otherwise unrelated elements. Pwedeng kalat-kalat yung elements mo, pero meron kang isang reference na plane or volume that will create unity through alignment. So it could be nakapatong siya doon or proximity of that certain reference. Ano-ano yung example niya na form. So, pwedeng sa horizontal plane, it could be a floor, a roof, wall, or spine, or a volumetric space such as a central hall. Okay, sometimes, yung nagagamit natin as datum or reference could also be higher upon the hierarchy. Pwede rin yon. So, we have the Devore House in Philadelphia, designed by Louis Kahn. So, as you can see here, may na-establish tayo na line. It could be an axis, but this time it is used as a datum to anchor itong mga elements na to sa plan. Meron lang siyang alignment, dun lang siya nakapatong or near to. Okay, hindi kagaya ng axis na yun mismo yung daanan, no? So datum, it doesn't have to be an entrance or an exit point or a path. Okay? It could just be a simple line or plane na doon nakasalalay ang alignment ng mga elements. These elements can also be rotated in a certain way, pero dapat ma-identify yung datum. Okay? Next. It could also be a platform wherein two towers are mounted upon, such as this example in RCBC Plaza, Makati. So ito yung, this is a bit common na plan sa ating mga condominium buildings. Nasa baba may mall, 2 to 3 floors. It is on a podium. Yun yung pinaka-base. And then sa itaas, may towers, may pool dito banda. So, yun yung ginagawa ng ating mga developers sa mga condominium. That's very common. Okay? And then, itong mga nasa ibaba na podium could be a public space. And then, more private spaces as you go higher on the floors. Okay? Next, transformation. So, yung transformation naman, iba ito dun sa transformation ng form itself. Pag nagtatransform yung organizing system, okay, ang nagtatransform dito is not only the form or shape of the building itself, but its use, okay? Our organizing system, how are the rooms arranged, anong gamit ng mga rooms before, and ano ang nabago. So, the organizing itself is altered or adapted into a newer purpose or distorted. But the identity of the building itself is still maintained. Okay, hindi nagbago yung building itself, nagbago yung usage, nagbago siguro yung arrangement sa loob, may dinagdag, dimensional change. It could be dati ganito yung proportion, nagbago yung proportion. We can consider siguro from Greek orders, Greek classical orders, nagkaroon ng dimensional change, and then it is adapted into the Roman classical orders that we know today. Okay? Pretty much the same character, pinalaki lang in terms of ratio or in scale up. Okay? That's one dimensional change. Subtraction or addition, may tinapyas na konti, but the original identity is still there, or may inad doon sa building na yon. Merong extension, for example, but the original building is still the same. Pwede din naman formal distortion. Okay? This is not very common approach to transformation. Di-distort siya, pero you can see that it's still the same thing. May konti lang na na-distort. Okay? Pwedeng binago yung orientation niya, for example, or may dinetach na isang part and then inikot, mga ganyan. So, several forms of distortion, but it's not really commonly used. And then, functional adaptation. Okay, adaptive reuse. Dati, bahay na bato siya, it's an ancestral house. Ngayon, restaurant na siya. Okay, so, pero, the identity is still preserved. Meron tayong mga examples sa Intramuros, mga dungeons, iba ang use dati, ngayon cafe na. Okay? So, yan, functional adaptation para magamit. So, one example that I have here is Fenton Tower, Scotland. So, in Scotland, during the times na may dispute with other neighboring areas, okay, so meron silang mga gantong fortified buildings which serves as a lookout or barracks. It is usually on top of a hill. May kita nila kung may sumusugod na sa kanila from the other side, and if they need to put defenses or mag-deploy sila ng troops to that certain area. So madami mga ganito. There are also gatehouses, mga dating castle, ngayon binenta sa common folk for them to use. If you can afford the castle, transform it into your home. That is possible now. Okay, so Fenton Tower now is functioning as an Airbnb. So may mga accommodation sila. Pero dati yun yung use niya. Okay, so madaming ganyan, mga garrison, ginawang Airbnb, gatehouses, ginawang tiny house. So that's very common para magamit. Next, this one. Okay, so here, this is the Port Authority building in Antwerp, Belgium. The later addition here, yung ultra-modern na mukhang alien type of structure here, was designed by Zaha Hadid. Pero bago dinagdag yan, ito original building, yan yung unang building niya. It has a very significant history behind it. And they were tasked to expand the building, but they are supposed to also preserve the original building. So, dinagdag na lang ito. So, there's a juxtaposition na ito ultra-modern and then ito historical building na preserve yan. So, the character is still the same, but there is a huge contrast doon sa additional element dito. Okay? So, ito, ginagamit din ito so that the original buildings are still preserved. And pag nagdadagdag tayo ng elements sa mga historical buildings, it is not always required na gayahin yung original na style. It could be modern, it could be contemporary, pwedeng medyo futuristic, okay? It could be very contrasting to the original building. Hindi man po yan bawal. Okay. So, here are our references. So again, I based it upon our reference book, which is in Francis D.K. Ching's form, space, and order. So, that's it guys. If you have any questions, pwede nyo akong, we can discuss it on our next online meeting or face-to-face meeting. I don't think it's allowed now. But, please do review our materials. I have already uploaded the slides to our Google Drive. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to bring it up on our next meeting. Thank you for listening.